Hello there, my name is Lynde, and today I'm going to talk about how music contrasts the forces of good and evil in Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park with scoring by John Williams. I'm basing this presentation off of an academic article that looks at Williams' score for Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The paper says that Williams' score uses character-based themes or leitmotifs to personify and contrast the dichotomy of good versus evil, contains similarities among themes for specific protagonists and antagonists, and gives protagonists a much wider variety of musical themes to develop their characters, whilst antagonists' themes are rigidly dark and unvaried. That being said, let's go ahead and dive into our first musical cue. This first cue occurs at the beginning of the film. Minor chords are present here to suggest to the audience an antagonistic force is on the screen, and hollowing harmonics can be heard in the minor chords, which further alludes to an evil presence. Looming brass instruments and bass woodwinds are utilized to create a sense of dread and horror with the score. The majority of this scene features not the dinosaur, but human workers and their machines. I believe this shows the antagonist is not the dinosaurs themselves, but rather the people whose negligence and error in their bioengineering project led to a series of creations that couldn't be controlled. Now let's have a look at another cue.
Because Grant's like me. He's a digger. Qué lindo eres.
When a miner finds a mosquito embedded in amber rock, ominous and sinister music can be heard. Similar to the last cue, this cue makes use of minor chords to foreshadow the negative repercussions of humans meddling with nature. Brass and bass woodwinds are used again for their terrifyingly powerful sound. Harmonics are also found here, but this time a harmonic choir is utilized to highlight the evil forces on screen. It sounds almost as though this choir were shouting against the humans who are trying to play out an act of God. Though the cues so far have featured similar instruments and sounds, they lacked a common leitmotif. They were also much more varied in melody and cadence than I originally hypothesized based on the academic paper's findings. Now let's have a look at the protagonist cues.
Put your head between your knees.
Dr. Grant, my dear Dr. Sattler, welcome to Jurassic Park. They're moving in herds. They do move in herds.
The first time our main protagonists encounter dinosaurs, the colossal beasts are portrayed as beautiful and peaceful rather than dangerous. Contrary to what we've previously heard, this cue sounds endearing and wondrous, making use of a broader orchestra with a simple yet comforting three-note motif. Horns, strings, and winds lead into this magnificent melody, which even features a choir, and no loud brass instruments are present to disrupt this warming tune. In this cue, rhythmic alignment is used between the melody and accompaniment to give the sound a wholeness. This portion of scoring captures the audience with a rhythm that graces their ears with a wave of sound that comes and goes all at once. Harmonies are yet another feature of this cue, and they're used in conjunction with a set of major chords to create a truly reverent sound. Now, let's move on to our next clip. Later in the film, our protagonists find themselves awoken by a large herbivore. The cue heard in this scene reinforces the idea that dinosaurs aren't evil by nature. This cue sounds quite different from the last one we heard, although the tone is still light and warm. The Vienna horn makes an appearance again, but this time the strings are the most audible. These last two cues show the audience that neither humans nor dinosaurs are inherently protagonists or antagonists. Instead, the protagonists are made up of the men and women who wish only to observe and learn from nature. Indeed, nature itself is portrayed as a positive sort of protagonist with its elegance and allure. In comparing my findings to the academic paper's conclusions, I find a couple of similarities. First, although leitmotifs are scarce in John Williams' score for Jurassic Park, the score definitely helps to contrast the forces of good and evil. Second, the protagonists, park explorers and dinosaurs alike, have similar themes that differ from their antagonistic counterparts, where the protagonist will have major chords and lighter sounding instruments. The antagonistic forces feature brass instruments and minor chords. I actually found that both protagonists and antagonists had varied themes which characterized them well. All in all, analyzing John Williams' score for this film has been incredible, and I would encourage you all to give it a listen if you ever get the chance. Thanks for listening.